There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes not from being alone, but from being deceived by the person holding your hand. It's a cold feeling that starts in the center of your chest, right where trust used to live, and slowly spreads outward until even your own memories feel chilled. I felt it for the first time on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday. I was sitting at my small kitchen table, the morning sun making patterns on the checked tablecloth. I had just made a cup of tea and opened my bank statement, a little monthly ritual of mine. I like to check the numbers, to see the small, steady safety net my late husband, Frank, and I had built over 40 careful years. My eyes scanned the page. Then they stopped and scanned again. The numbers were wrong. The comfortable balance I expected to see was gone. In its place was a figure so small, so shockingly small, it made the room tilt. My heart began to thump, a slow, heavy drumbeat of dread. I pulled up the transaction history on my phone with trembling fingers, and there they were, dozens of transfers, over the last 4 months, all going to one account, an account under a name I knew as well as my own, my daughter-in-law's name, Chloe. The largest transfer had been made just 2 days ago. The note simply read, "For Mom's care." And the strangest, most painful detail of all? She had been here, in this kitchen, just 2 days ago. She had hugged me tightly, her cheek warm against mine, and smiled that bright, beautiful smile of hers. "I love you so much, Ellen," she'd whispered. "I'm so glad we're family." She was smiling and hugging me, while my life's savings disappeared, one click at a time. To understand the depth of the cut, you have to understand the closeness, the trust. My son, Ben, brought Chloe home 7 years ago. He was beaming, a look of pure wonder on his face, as if he couldn't believe his luck. And I could see why. Chloe had a light about her. She was all energy and warmth, with a laugh that felt like sunshine. She hugged me hello without hesitation. "You must be Ellen," she'd said. "Ben talks about you all the time. I feel like I already know you." Frank was still with us then, battling the illness that would later take him. Chloe was wonderful with him. She'd sit by his chair and tell him funny stories about her work at the design firm. She never treated him like a sick man, just like a person. Frank would give me a soft, knowing look. "She's a keeper. That one," he'd say. When Frank passed, the grief was a vast, quiet ocean. Ben was devastated, lost in his own sorrow. But Chloe stepped in. She organized the funeral notices when I couldn't string a sentence together. She brought over casseroles and made endless pots of coffee for visitors. She held my hand at the service when Ben was too overcome to speak. In those raw, early days, she became my rock. "You're not alone, Ellen," she'd say, tucking a blanket around my shoulders. "We're your family. We're in this together." And I believed her. With my whole heart, I believed her. She started coming over more often. At first, it was just for dinner. Then she'd pop by after work. Then she started helping with little things. "Let me sort those bills for you, Ellen," she'd say, seeing a pile of mail on the counter. It must be overwhelming. It was. Everything felt overwhelming without Frank. So I let her. She'd sit at this very table, her laptop open, and show me what to pay. She set up online banking for me because I was nervous about it. "It's so much easier, see?" She'd demonstrate. "You can see everything right here. And I can help you keep an eye on it." It felt like a relief. A burden shared. She was so competent, so caring. The first time she asked for money, it was for a medical bill. "Ben's insurance is being so slow with this specialist," she said, her face etched with worry. "The appointment is next week, and they need payment up front. It's a lot. Could we possibly borrow it? Just until the insurance pays? We'll pay you back the very second it comes through." "Of course," I said without a second thought. This was my family. This was an emergency. I wrote the check, glad I could help. A month later, she paid me back, in cash, with a sweet thank you card. "See?" she said, smiling, all settled. "Thank you for being our safety net." That phrase, safety net. It would come back to me later. There were more requests after that, always with a perfect, logical reason. A car repair so Ben could get to work. A deposit on a better apartment that would be so much better for starting a family. A short-term loan to cover a client who was late paying her firm. Each time, she had paperwork, estimates, a plausible story. Each time, she promised repayment. Sometimes she even made a small payment back, which only deepened my trust. "You're saving us, Ellen," she'd say, hugging me. "I don't know what we'd do without you." And I felt needed, useful. In a world that had shrunk since Frank's death, being my family's safety net gave me purpose. It made me feel like I was still a mother, still a protector. I never told Ben about the specifics. Chloe said it would embarrass him. "He's so proud, Ellen. He hates feeling like he can't provide. Let's just keep this between us girls." "Okay." For his sake. I agreed. I was helping my son by helping his wife. It made sense. The rhythm of it became normal. Chloe's visits, her smiles, her hugs, and the quiet digital transfer of funds from my account to hers. The amounts grew larger. The reasons became more complex. Investments in her firm, a can't-miss opportunity, tax payments. One afternoon, about a year into this new rhythm, I felt a small prickle of doubt. We were having lunch. She was talking excitedly about a new handbag she'd bought. It was a designer brand. I knew because she showed me the website. It cost more than my monthly grocery bill. I must have looked surprised, because she quickly backtracked. "Oh, it was a total splurge," she laughed, waving her hand. "A guilty pleasure, with my first bonus from that big project you helped with. See? Your investment in me is already paying off." The prickle faded. She'd used her bonus to treat herself. That was fine. The loan had helped her get the bonus. It was connected, but the seed was planted. I started to notice other things. The new furniture in their apartment, the weekend trips she posted about on social media. Ben, in those photos, often looked tired, not quite matching her radiant smile. When I asked him about a trip, he shrugged. Chloe planned it, said she got a deal. She's good at that stuff. I decided, gently, to broach the subject of the money. Not the spending, just the repayment. We had never discussed a formal schedule. It had always been when we can. "Chloe, dear," I said one day as she was helping me prune my roses. "I was just looking at my budget for the year. I don't want to pressure you and Ben at all. But should we think about a little plan for some of those loans?" Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes changed. Just for a second. They became sharper, like the eyes of the lawyer she sometimes talked about being. Then they softened again. "Oh, Ellen, of course. You're so right. I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Things are just about to turn a huge corner at work. This massive client is signing next month. The repayment will be substantial. More than substantial. I was actually thinking, instead of just paying you back, what if we rolled it into a real investment? For you? A proper retirement fund. I could manage it for you. You'd get a much better return than that sad little savings account." It sounded smart. Complicated, but smart. She was the expert. I'd have to think about that, Chloe. Frank and I were always very cautious. She put down her shears and took my muddy hands in hers. "I know, and that's why you have this safety net. But Frank isn't here anymore. The world is different. Let me help you make that money work for you. Let me take care of you, like you've taken care of us." The hook was in. Not just the promise of getting my money back, but the promise of more, and wrapped in the language of care, of family, of reciprocation. "Let me set up a proper account for you," she said, her voice smooth and reassuring. "A separate, high-yield one. We'll transfer everything there so it can grow. I'll handle all the paperwork. You won't have to lift a finger. I was tired. Tired of worrying. Tired of loneliness. Tired of managing a life meant for two. The thought of someone capable taking the wheel, it was so tempting. Would you need my bank details? I asked hesitantly. I already have them from helping you with your bills, remember? She said, smiling. See? I've got this. It's already done. All I need is one quick signature to link the accounts for the transfer. A formality. She produced a sheet of paper from her bag. It looked official, full of financial jargon. At the bottom was a line for my signature. I looked from the paper to her face, to my daughter-in-law's smiling, trusting, loving face. The face that had cried with me at Frank's funeral. The face that remembered my birthday when Ben was busy. The face that called me Mom. I signed. For a few months, everything was quiet, peaceful. Chloe would give me cheerful updates. The investment is doing great, Ellen. Or the market is a little slow, but we're positioned perfectly. She brought over statements sometimes, pages of numbers and graphs I didn't understand. She'd point to lines going up. See? Growth. I felt a flutter of pride. My money was working. Chloe was working for me. The loneliness receded. I had a partner, a financial daughter, in a way. Then Ben lost his job. It was a blow. He was depressed, anxious. Chloe was a pillar of strength. Don't you worry, she told me, her arm around Ben's slumped shoulders. We have your investment. We'll be fine. We can draw a little from that to cover us while Ben finds something new. That's what a family safety net is for, right? It made sense. Of course it did. Use what you need, I said. The withdrawals from my old savings account had stopped. Now, the money flowed from the new investment account. I didn't see those statements anymore. It's all automated now, Chloe explained. Cleaner, less paperwork for you to fuss over. The Tuesday I found the old savings account drained was an accident. I had gone in to close a forgotten tiny sub-account. And that's when I saw the real state of my primary savings. The safety net Frank and I had woven, thread by thread, over a lifetime of work and sacrifice, was gone. The investment account she had set up? I called the bank. The representative was polite but confused. That account, ma'am? It was closed last month. There was a zero balance. A zero balance. The pieces, sharp and cold, clicked together in my mind. The hugs, the smiles, the I love yous, the designer bag, the vacations, the new furniture, the promises of growth and care, each one a tile in a beautiful, convincing mosaic that hid a hollow, empty space beneath. She hadn't been investing a thing. She had been spending. She had been living. On my grief, on my trust, on my love for my son. I didn't call her. I called Ben. My hands were ice cold. Ben, I said, my voice strangely calm, I need you to come over. Right now. And, don't tell Chloe. He heard the tone. He came within 20 minutes. I showed him the bank statements, the transfers to Chloe's account. The empty investment account record. I said nothing. I just watched his face. He went pale, then red, then pale again. He scrolled through his own phone, his jaw tight. She told me the bonuses from work were so good. She said your money was safe, that it was growing. His voice cracked. Mom, how much? I told him the total, the number that represented my future security, his inheritance, his father's legacy. He put his head in his hands and wept. Not quiet tears, but great, shuddering sobs of shame and horror. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. I trusted her. I thought she was managing it. For you. I believed him. That was the second worst part. Seeing my son's world break apart, knowing I had handed the hammer to the woman he loved. Confrontation is not a loud, dramatic scene in the movies. Sometimes, it's just three broken people in a quiet kitchen. Chloe came over when Ben called her. She walked in, smiling, carrying a box of my favorite pastries. Ben said, "It was an emergency? Is everything okay?" Then she saw our faces. The smile froze, then slowly melted away, replaced by a cool, assessing look. She saw the papers on the table. No one spoke for a full minute. "Chloe," Ben said, his voice ragged, "Mom's money. All of it. Where is it?" She didn't look at him. She looked at me. There was no apology in her eyes, no shame, just a kind of weary calculation, as if she were solving an inconvenient problem. "It was an investment that didn't pan out," she said flatly. "The market shifted. These things happen. I told you there was risk, Ellen." "There was no investment, Chloe," I said, and my voice was so tired. "There were just purchases, trips, bags." She shrugged, a small, elegant movement. I was leveraging assets to improve our quality of life, our life. Ben's and mine, which includes you. That money was sitting there, doing nothing. I made it work for the family. "It wasn't your money," Ben whispered, aghast. "It was family money," she shot back, her composure cracking just a little, revealing a hard edge beneath. "And family supports each other. Or they should. I supported you when you were depressed and jobless, didn't I? I supported her when she was a grieving widow. I did the emotional labor. I managed everything. And for what? Scrutiny? Accusations?" She was reframing the entire narrative before our eyes, the thief becoming the overworked martyr. I looked at her, this beautiful stranger in my kitchen, and I finally saw her clearly, not as the daughter I never had, but as a vortex of need, dressed up in love bombing and strategic affection. My savings hadn't been stolen in a burglary. They had been lovingly, smilingly, siphoned away, drop by drop, by someone who knew that my need for family was my greatest vulnerability. There was no grand reckoning, no police. What would be the point? It would destroy Ben, and I would never get the money back. The cost would be even higher. Ben moved out that night. He came to stay in my spare room, a 35-year-old man with the lost eyes of a little boy. His marriage was over. He said the trust was not just broken. It had never really existed in the way he thought. Chloe sent one text message to me. A week later, "I'm sorry you see it this way. I was trying to build a future for all of us. I hope one day you'll understand." Then, silence. That was 8 months ago. Ben found a new job. A better one, actually. He's in therapy. We are in therapy. Together sometimes. We are learning how to be a family of two again. How to rebuild trust with each other. The money is gone. We don't talk about it much. It's a ghost in the room. A very expensive ghost, but a ghost nonetheless. We are learning to live with its presence. I had to sell my house. The house Frank and I shared. I couldn't afford the upkeep, the taxes, without my savings. I live in a small apartment now. It has a window that gets the morning sun. It's enough. Sometimes, in the quiet of the evening, I think about that smile of hers, that hug, the warmth of it. I try to separate the performance from what might have been a moment of real feeling. I can't. They are fused together forever in my memory. Affection and theft, love and lies, all in the same gesture. What did I learn? I learned that family is not a blanket excuse. It's not a free pass to someone's heart or their life savings. Real love doesn't drain you, it sustains you. I learned that a smile can be a weapon and a hug can be a transaction. I learned to look closer, to trust slower, but I also learned this. They took the money. They took the house. They took a version of my son that was innocent and whole. But they did not take my capacity to love. They did not take the memories of Frank that live in my heart, not in any building. They did not take the bond that is slowly, painstakingly reforming between Ben and me. A bond tested by fire and found to be real. She smiled and hugged me while emptying my savings. She took the tangible things, the numbers in an account, the deeds, the security, the intangible things, the lesson, the resilience, the real love that remains. Those are mine. They are in this small, sunlit apartment. They are in the quiet dinners with my son. They are in me. And no one, no matter how bright their smile, can ever empty that.